Welcome back to another episode of Blazing Football, where we are where we are going to talk about Manchester United in simple. We have with us Srivats, who's an Manchester United fan. So, Srivats, tell me tell me about your journey of being a Manchester United fan.
Okay.
When did it
Well,
start? How did it go?
okay. It started when Ronaldo was brought into Manchester United. So everyone it's gonna
Okay.
be either way. It's Ronaldo or Messi. So for me, it started with Ronaldo and also the club when it was in the peak when Ronaldo joined and the way the club developed under Sir Alex Ferguson. All those legends they made me admire Manchester United more and more. So that's when Manchester United, like the fan of I became a fan of Manchester United. So that's how I became a fan of Manchester United. The way things were moving, and when Sir Alex Ferguson went down, it was quite a stormy feel for every Manchester United fan. But then I had the hopes when Angel Di Maria was signed because I was a Di Maria fan also. Seeing him play with Ronaldo, I thought, okay, we're gonna have a final replacement of Ronaldo at Manchester United, and that's when Manchester United got me more craze into the Premier League football. But then it was a huge, tremendous break, and this season was quite satisfying compared to any other season so far. So that's how my journey started.
So, yeah, like even I can relate to it because that was around the time even I became a Manchester United fan. And for sure, if you ask me about Di Maria, that was like the biggest disappointment we have faced till date. So yeah, it just goes on. So okay, so the arrival of Bruno Fernandes made a huge difference in the team. So what do you think about Bruno as a player and how he transformed the way United look?
Okay, so when a player comes from Portugal, it's gonna people are gonna be like it's gonna be either Nani or else it's gonna be Ronaldo. But he's not Nani or Ronaldo, but he is the best playmaker of the season, like equal to Kevin De Bruyne, because the way he brings forward the team, okay, the way he created the chances, like there are players who could create chances, there are players who could hold the ball, and there are players who could dribble, but he was all in one package. And playing alongside Pogba was one of the magical duo for every Manchester United fan. The comeback of Pogba and the combination of Pogba and Fernandes. And people were thinking, how are they going to link with each other? Because they both are in the similar play role. So the similar position, so similar strategy and all these things. But the bond between those two were like close to what we have seen with Rashford and Martial, which has improved a lot. So it's something like they are like the pillars of the midfield. And the way Bruno is performing is like his ability to think in the field, like he analyzes the play. He analyzes the players who are in the field and whatever the mistakes they have been doing. He's not a leader. He's not the captain of the team, but he guides the team. There's a difference between leading a team and also guiding the team. Maguire has been doing good as a leader, but then guiding the team in the midfield area, especially the where the place where we can see a huge improvement is in our midfield. Definitely since the arrival of Bruno Fernandes, because they weren't players who could dribble or else who could give a fine passes like Pogba. Pogba is like pure class for his passes and dribble, but then the combo was something very magical and the formula has worked out. So Bruno's arrival is not compared to Ronaldo's level, or not, I'm not gonna say like he's changing the game like how Nani did with Sir Alex Ferguson, but he's definitely is a very important ingredient for our midfield subject. And I feel his duo, that is Bruno Fernandes along with Pogba, and also a strong defending midfielder, could improvise the Manchester United, and that combo can bring Manchester United back the cup which has been missing for a pretty long time.
Even I kind of like agree to what you say. Bruno Fernandes is not just a player. He is more than a player. He's a leader of the field. He's leader on the field. And something that is very magical and something that attracted me the most is his ability to control the front three. So like he was just dictating how they play. If Bruno Fernandes is doing this, automatically they will do this. So it is like that is the difference that he had created as far as I'm concerned. And on top of it, you told something which is like debatable. You compared Bruno Fernandes and Kevin De Bruyne, but I feel the comparison is too early. It has been just like 4, 5
Half the
months since
seasons.
Bruno had come. Yeah, 6 months, whatever. Till Bruno had played, but Kevin De Bruyne has been doing it for years and years, and again he did
It's
it
a
this
debatable.
season. He broke the assist record. So I'm not getting there, but yeah, I mean, if you ask me, he is like second to Kevin De Bruyne in the league, at least for this season. I won't rate him as good as Kevin De Bruyne, but still, he is getting there. And
Getting
probably
an
next season will be the season where we can thoroughly judge him.
yeah, exactly. So, but as far as since Bruno's arrival, it was more likely Bruno versus Kevin De Bruyne, obviously, and they both were the people who were actually carrying the entire team up front. So that's where I compared. But the next
Yeah,
season is going to be a real test for the midfield combination. That is the ingredients which are going to pass through. It's going to
I
be a
mean,
real test.
next season is not just going to be a testament for Bruno or the forwards or the players. It's going to be one for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer also, I feel.
Definitely.
Like, before going into that next season part, uh, give me your glimpses on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and how he has performed till now as a manager.
Okay. So seeing the review, seeing the place where we have ended last season and the squad depth and everything, I feel it's an 80% win for Ole. I would say 80% because the 20% was lost because we didn't get any silverware. But our main targets were to reach the top four, come back to the top four, which he did. He did improvise the team. Like we were having inexperienced young players. They didn't get a lot of time to play in the field, but he improvised in terms of Greenwood, Martial. Martial's finishing was a kind of lacking in the previous season. Martial wasn't able to finish, but this season I've seen him doing a better thing in finishing compared to goals. And
Probably it's because his first season as number 9. Till now, he has been tried in the left wing.
yeah,
I Yeah, so and this is his breakthrough season as a striker and a leading striker. And it is not an easy job to
yeah,
lead the line of a team like Manchester United. Expectations would be high and stuff. Yeah,
and he
but
has actually
before we
completed it.
yeah,
He has actually
he
did
has
a
been
decent job,
phenomenal.
fairly decent job compared.
Yeah, he has been phenomenal, I would say. But coming to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, do you think he would continue as the manager for long years to come? And do you feel like he's capable of doing it?
For me, I personally suggest there is no other manager who could bring a team like United from the state which our team was to this level. And I feel if we have given him, we should give him a little more chance. With the players that he needed, coming back to the transfer market, it's going to be a tragic story for another Manchester. Like another time, another year, the same story is going to be. But it depends upon how the players are going to adapt to him and the players whom he needs. If it comes to the team, I can see the formula has been working pretty well after the lockdown, especially for the season. It was quite decent. There were flaws at different places, but comparing to all the injuries that we had and the amount of player growth, individual player growth in different fields. That is one huge aspect which I really respect on Ole. I won't say like he did like what Frank Lampard was able to do. Like Frank Lampard had only 2 to 3 experienced players, but the amount of growth in his squad was pretty good, and the trust. The board and the owners did was quite amazing, which every Manchester United wanted. Every Manchester United fan wanted Ole to be back. I am pretty sure if the same squad is going to continue without any transfer market, I hope mid-season he'll be taking away. If he was in, if his new formula is going to work out, maybe he will be staying for next season, or else if the transfer market fails and if his formula is being leaked out, I'm not sure if he's gonna stay for a little longer than December, but it's
See,
in the hands of the transfer market. I want him to personally stay as a Manchester United manager because I haven't seen pure Manchester United blood bringing a team to this level. Because David Moyes was a person who was being trusted by Sir Alex Ferguson, and I feel the second most trusted person by Sir Alex Ferguson as a manager is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he has actually proved that he's a real true blood of Manchester United and he can bring back the glory which we are missing.
See, for me, it goes back to 2013 when Sir Alex Ferguson left. When Alex Ferguson was there in the team and was there as the manager, there was a culture imposed in United. Once he left, the culture was changed.
Exactly.
There remained no culture. There remained no specific way of playing for United. It was just helter skelter. People, the managers who were appointed, got in their own theories, which didn't work out very well and stuff. But Ole
You're breaking. You're
more than he has tried to keep it simple. He has tried to keep it very simple, and you know, I would say he's trying to do what Sir Alex Ferguson did,
exactly.
like take from the coaching staff, bringing back Nicky Butt, using Mike Phelan as the assistant coach, having Michael Carrick as the assistant coach. I mean, Michael Carrick's decision would be like one of the best Mourinho's decision ever,
Exactly.
appointing him as an assistant coach. More than whatever he did, more than the second place, more than the Europa League, I would say that Michael Carrick, that particular decision is what is paying off today. And the as you spoke about the improvement of players, I think that is the main reason here. Before the season, Ole Gunnar was clearly told that this is the budget you have, this is the players you can get, and he acted accordingly. Like he developed Martial, he let go of Romelu Lukaku, he didn't sign a replacement. He knew about Martial. He had identified that potential of Martial to play as the number 9. So he didn't go in for a replacement. He converted Martial. He took Rashford into the left wing and made him a goal scoring winger. Same goes. One simple example I can give: our player of the season, Fred. Like what he was last season, what he is right now is something that is unexplainable. And I
Exactly.
don't think this would be possible without our first team coaches, to be very
Exactly.
honest. And the promotion of say a Greenwood, Brandon Williams, the academy prospects, and McTominay to an extent. These are all what defined the season for me.
True.
So and and on top of it, you had mentioned about Lampard. See, I credit Lampard for whatever he has done and stuff. But I wouldn't consider that as like one of the best achievements because he had his core set. It was only with it was the tinkering he needed with one or two players, say a Mason Mount or a Christian Pulisic and Tammy Abraham. But to substitute with Tammy Abraham, he had someone in the form of Olivier Giroud, who is like pretty experienced and who knows how the Premier League works. So that helped Lampard here. And even if Christian Pulisic wasn't there, he had multiple players to play that role. Say a Pedro, a Willian. They were all experienced campaigners. But when it comes to United, you had none of these. Like our most experienced player is David De Gea, and you know how howler of a season he had last time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't personally rate Lampard better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but it is too early to compare. As I said, Lampard has his first transfer market already. He has made just 8 signings or 7 signings, and many more to come. Just he's going to buy 11 players. That are all secondary. But yeah, so I wouldn't really rate Lampard higher than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like, let us leave that aside and come
Yeah.
back to
Come
United.
back to.
So, what do you think about the 2019-20 season of
As I
United?
said, it's an 80% win again because we came back to the top four. So that was one major thing which was missing for a pretty long time. I feel like the squad which I had, I never expected a top four finish. I thought we are going to stay back again in the Europa League. When I saw the mid-table season, mid-season table, it was quite bad. And the second thing is, we were able to qualify to all three semi-finals, which has happened
Yeah,
after a pretty long time. So I feel that Ole is bringing this club a step closer to the success, but we could have done certain changes. Like Ole could have done a little bit of a backup plan for us if in case the starting 11 was in a failure. He could have done a small thing, or else he could have backed up certain players for certain reasons or something. But I feel it was a 80%
that
win.
that so you see that the aspect you're talking about, I feel solely relies on the board. If
Yeah, true.
the Glazers and Ed Woodward doesn't support recruitment and doesn't want to recruit players who we need and instead go on big names in order to attract sponsorship and endorsement deals, then I don't think there is a point in us talking about the squad depth here.
Yeah, but
I personally feel that Ole did whatever was possible from his side.
yeah, but I feel he could have done for an alternate strategy.
Yeah.
That's what I feel, because in the end we know there's no squad depth, so he should have made some arrangements that a squad has certain players who could come into field and make some change, like how Mata did in the Europa League. But then Mata was pretty late for the Sevilla game. It's another story. We can't, like, we had a lot of chances being missed in the 60th minute that nobody expected. I mean, the keeper was going to be like so good and the defense was going to be so good, so we should have come for an alternate strategy. But it's okay. It's the first complete season, and I'm pretty happy for what Ole did for this club, because I feel our club is coming back into places. The missing piece are getting attached, so finally we might be able to see some cup coming. Some silverback is going to come back to United this year. I'm not sure if we could challenge for the Premier League title or stay in the top four with the current squad, but some or the other cup would be possible. I hope we won't get knocked out of the East. I mean UCL at the group stage. Let's see what's going to happen. It's too early to predict for the game.
For me, this season, I would personally divide it into two parts, like a, a season, half season till the January transfer window, that is before and after the arrival of Bruno Fernandes. After the arrival of Bruno Fernandes, I felt we were like the best team this season. I would even say we were better than Liverpool and we were better than Man City. After the arrival of Bruno Fernandes, that is. But before that, we weren't great, and injuries did not help our cause. McTominay was injured, or Martial was injured, Rashford was injured, Pogba disappeared with injury, and then you have like four of the key players injured, and Luke Shaw, obviously you don't even know when he's fit and when he's not.
True.
So five key players, and David De Gea being Kepa. I didn't really fancy what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managed to achieve in the second part of the season. But yeah, again, that I would personally blame the board and our CEO for that, because Bruno Fernandes was supposed to be a summer signing.
Yes.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the board knew that we lacked a playmaker, and if Pogba isn't available, there is no one to create chances. Fortunately or unfortunately for the board and for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Rashford and Martial stepped up. If they hadn't stepped up and if they hadn't got those solo goals got, we wouldn't have been in the top four. As simple as that. But very happy that the board realized it at least in the middle of the season and somehow got in Bruno Fernandes, which I feel should have been a summer signing. But once he came, the dynamicity changed. The way United played changed. We weren't scared anymore. We weren't dependent on pace. We weren't dependent on counter attacks. We tried to play possession based football. We tried to play. We were able to play any style we wanted to play. And we had the players capable of doing that also. With Pogba fit, even better. But without Pogba also, I felt once Bruno Fernandes came, we started dictating the play. And had Bruno Fernandes come in the summer transfer window, I don't know where United would have stood by now. We wouldn't have struggled so much to achieve the top four. We would have been there with ease. But again, with Ed Woodward, at least he got it. He got him in the January transfer window, and that is what is important. Ultimately, we are there in the top four. He is safe. The fans are happy. Again, so yeah, now at least with Ole proving his results, I really feel that he gets the players he wants. Okay, so
Definitely.
what do you think about our defense, especially?
Okay. Let me come from the transfer window of the previous season. So
Yeah.
that is a real what did you say? everyone blamed like Maguire wasn't the 80 million quality player. I accept he's not an 80 million quality player because Virgil van Dijk was priced the same. But I feel a person who's played every single minute of Manchester United, and I guess the amount of stamina, and he had a back injury, but he took the
Hip
medication
injury.
for it. Yeah, hip
Yeah.
injury, and he took the medication for it, and he was able to complete every 90 minutes possible. There were even 120 minutes in the extra time was also happening in different places of the external things. But I feel like Harry Maguire wasn't being supported perfectly because Maguire is a kind of a person who takes the ball to the mid and maybe even to the 3/4 of the pitch. That time he needed a physical guy who's been supporting from the back. And Lindelof, he played well, he played decently, but I don't feel like his physique has helped a lot because player can easily like, shoulder tackle and he can dribble and move. Pace was decent, but his different technique was decent. I won't say his physical was one of his weakness. Then coming back to the right side, Aaron Van Bissaka. I guess he is the best transfer of this last previous season. He was the best transfer next to Bruno Fernandes. He was the best,
Probably.
best transfer because initially his tackling was like the way he actually played against Sterling. Sterling, I saw Sterling feared to cross Baron Van Bissaka. He was pretty sure I don't need the ball. He was running away from the ball. That is the impact that Aaron Van Bissaka has created. His sliding tackles, man, nobody else can do a perfect sliding tackle like Aaron Van Bissaka in this Premier League. I'm pretty sure, and nobody can argue on it. If someone is going to argue, I'm going to ask
See,
them. Yeah, I'm going to ask them to watch the
see,
videos of what Aaron Van Bissaka did.
the thing with Maguire is he's a ball playing centre back, okay, and he's aerially very strong. But one thing he lacks is pace.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't call him worthless and all. He's for me, and as per stats, he's like the second best defender in the Premier League after Virgil van Dijk. So like you have a Virgil van Dijk as a standard, and then you are comparing him to Virgil van Dijk. That is the level he has reached. And if he is not a good player, you don't compare him with the Virgil van Dijk. You compare him with a player much lower to Virgil van Dijk. So that is what is defines me. And the 80 million price tag, obviously it was expensive. I'm not telling it wasn't expensive, but it was something that we needed the
Yeah.
most because we needed a center back. We wanted to play out from the back, and I don't see a better center back available in the market at that particular time who can play who's very good with the ball. I don't see a player. And with Maguire, he's very good aerially. He's very
Yeah.
good aerially. He can like out muscle defenders. He can win the headers in the center of the pitch. He can win the headers in the box, and then he can even score those goals, crucial goals, which he did, we didn't see much of that, but still he did manage to get some crucial goals for say against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup or against
Not,
Norwich, the winner. So yeah, he was great, but see, you cannot compare a player with the price tag. The transfer
yeah.
market in particular, I feel, is very inflated right now, and every player, whatever the sales is, I don't think the player is worth that money. Say for
Mathematically, example.
example, let us say take for example Luka Jovic, who was signed for 50 million by Real Madrid, and he hardly played a game or two.
Yeah.
Player to sit in the bench, you have paid 50 million, and then you are here comparing
And
Harry Maguire played like day in and day out, and who has been
pillar.
the second best defender in the Premier League, and you compare him and you say him overpriced. Every
He,
single player is overpriced in my opinion, and
yeah.
that is the nature of the transfer market these days. And then coming to Lindelof, see, Lindelof wasn't the player he is right now back a season back or so.
Very true.
He has improved drastically. And one astonishing fact is that he has been dribbled past the entire season only once. Number of last time Van Dijk wasn't dribbled past at all, but this time he was just dribbled past once. That too by Todd Cantwell against Norwich. Apart from that, Lindelof has never been dribbled past. He is like weak. He is not that great at aerial battles, but he is improving. Is what I
Yeah.
feel.
He's definitely
And
improving.
And on top of it, the defense we play right now, they are playing their first season together. They haven't played before. So it obviously takes time for them to, settle and adapt. See, if you take a Virgil van Dijk or if you take the top defenders, say a Koulibaly or you take Ramos, they all have a guard in front of them. Okay? They have someone called as Casemiro. They have someone called as Fabinho. In United, we don't have that. So the entire you don't have a brick as a central defensive midfielder in United. So the more work you do, the more you are bound to make mistakes. So and that is the reason for those mistakes. I feel they are not they are not bad. They are good, but they are not excellent. But they will get there. And I have personally seen the signs of them being. And you mentioned about Van Bissaka. What do you think about his attacking inputs?
Okay. Um, Let me come to that. So his attacking input. First, let me say from another signing who was really brilliant at first, and he was still brilliant at the end, but his role was changed. That's Daniel James. I actually expected a lot from Daniel James because his pace was incredible, and the way he has dribbled for. I mean, his pace is what is going to be his dribble. Obviously, he's not a player who could dribble in between players. He's a player who uses the space wherever is available in the field. And someone could put a long ball, he could run for miles. So that's the kind of player he was. The player which like Danny James who came in first was more of an attacking winger. He wasn't a person who was doing all those crosses and all. He came in, his finishing was nice initial part of the season.
Mhm.
The goal he scored against Southampton, the top bin challenge was like perfect. That was super cool. And the debut goal was Old Trafford debut goal. It was like a magical moment for every Manchester United fan. Oh, finally we got a pure replacement. But the
That was a
strategy,
brilliant run by Pogba also.
yeah, true, very true,
He gave the
and
ball to the
very true. And that was kind of luck because it went through the keeper, hands of the keeper. So that was kind of luck. But Daniel James as a
just a
player,
normal day in the office for Kepa.
very true. So Danny James as a player, I feel when he entered, he was more of a finishing player, more than giving crosses or something. But he was a huge improvement for whatever Rashford and Martial. The improvement we have seen for Rashford and Martial was I would give 30 to 40% credit to Daniel James in the initial part of the season because the assist that he provided against the Liverpool game taken like Allison was like shocked to see Rashford suddenly getting the ball and scoring. He was shocked, and the defenders were shocked because that like accurate passing. I would say long ball was accurate, and the way he pushed forward the entire field, that quickness, and that was very good. Like his finishing got drastically little bit slowly down, but his assisting capabilities was pretty high. He was going exponentially, honestly. Because if you take away the goals and assists scored by, provided by Daniel James, you would lose nearly half of the initial phase of whatever we scored because he was a
See,
very crucial part.
the thing with Daniel James is he's still very raw, he's still very young, and he's still not matured enough. I would say his decision making is what that has to improve, and if that improves, he can still be a very good utility player in the squad. But I don't see him as a world class or a top prospect
I
in the
won't
sense,
say him
say
like
like
he's
a
a top
Rashford
class
or a
prospect, but he's a
Jadon
better
Sancho or
bench
someone
player.
like that.
He's a better bench player compared
Yeah,
to
he's
whatever we have in the bench.
yeah,
I feel like if okay, in case fingers crossed we get Jadon Sancho, okay, we get Jadon Sancho, and if he's tired, or if Rashford is tired, or if Marshall is tired, he's still a better player to replace them compared to anyone else in this bench. Like Greenwood is the best option. So coming back again, so Aaron Van Bissaka, his attacking thing he had to focus on attack because Daniel James was kind of either changed in the position when Rashford went out, and when Greenwood came in, he was more like dribbling in between. He's not a pacey guy.
yeah.
So Aaron Van Bissaka has to support Greenwood in the final third. So he had lacked his defending skills was quite down because he was committing more fouls in the end, towards the end of the
Yeah.
thing. You can see that happening in the Sevilla. He was performing the same kind of sliding tackle perfectly at the initial part of the season. But later on, he became tired running from the third, three-fourth of the pitch, coming back to the defense
That
and sliding.
see that personally, I don't think it's because of supporting attacking wise. That is because of the number of games we had played in a
Ah,
short span of time. So that had taken a toll on like almost everyone. If you see the start of say these, if you see since the start first 5 6 games, we were phenomenal. No one were able to stop us. And then after a point of time, the decline started. That is because that had
tired
a lot to do with the number of games and the
lack of
time
squad
span
depth
of each games.
and lack
So
of squad
I
depth.
personally feel that was the reason.
Yeah,
So and Aaron Van Bissaka, if you see before the winter break period, he wasn't great
yeah.
attacking wise. He wasn't contributing. Almost he was contributing nothing apart from that one particular assist. Later, after January, he started getting involved more upfront. He started improving. He started showing signs of improvement, and he did provide like 3 or 4 assists
Yeah.
after Jan. So that is like the second most after Trent
Lot.
Alexander-Arnold, obviously.
And also
But
after
yeah,
Lotto for a
yeah.
right back.
So that is what has happened, and I definitely feel that when we start playing next season, he would definitely improve more. Coming to
Definitely.
the left back, Luke Shaw and Brandon Williams.
Luke Shaw, any day. Like Brandon Williams is brilliant. I would say he's like really brilliant, but actual position of Brandon Williams is right back.
Right back,
But
yeah,
he was
right foot.
adapted to a left back.
Mhm.
Everyone underestimates Luke Shaw. Honestly, Luke Shaw is the most underestimated player in the whole Premier League, I would say, because Luke
True that.
Shaw has everything. Honestly, he's good with his crosses. He could dribble. He has a good physique, and he's good in defense. Like it's a total package for Manchester United. But one one key flaw is his injury prone. He's very injured prone. So
See,
that
even I accept that. Luke Shaw is like a decent crosser. He's very good going forward. He's defensively also sound. He's not very bad defensively. And probably we missed him a lot in the later part of the season. Had he been there, I think the results would have been different.
definitely, I
But
feel that.
I'm not taking anything away from Brandon Williams. Even
Yeah,
that kid has been phenomenal.
he was brilliant because a 19-year-old kid coming in playing like I would say everyone compared him with Gary Neville. It was true. I saw his characteristics in him. Like man, I won't expect a 19-year-old kid who's like falling in the ground. He's not that physic. He's not like so strong as Luke Shaw, but he was able to push players, get the ball without being fouled. I was shocked to see he was like even slimmer than me. Man, I weigh nearly around 55. I can't believe that he's pushing players. He's able to tackle the balls and he's also able to provide assists. He's a good dribbler. But he's maybe if he had played in the right back position, maybe we could have seen a better Brandon William. But with his left foot, I feel he's also more like a Mason Greenwood. I didn't see a weak foot in him. And the goal against, if I'm not wrong, he scored a goal against
Sheffield,
last
Sheffield,
and
Sheffield.
Sheffield United. Okay,
Yeah.
that was a pretty nice shot, left-footed shot. I saw that. Okay, that was a very decent shot
Right
because
foot, right footed shot.
okay, I'm not sure of the shot leg, but
Yeah, but it was a brilliant finish.
yeah, it was he had a nice power. He has good power in his foot, and the way he also dribbles. Suddenly, I can see Rashford playing left back and he's playing left winger. That was kind of a shock, but Rashford actually, the coordination between the players this season, I feel it's more better than.
Yeah, it has improved.
Yeah, I can
Especially
find
the especially the combination between say Rashford and Martial.
definitely.
That is something you that is something that was the best thing that happened this season, I would say.
I would say that is the best combination I've ever seen in a forward after Rooney and Van Persie. I won't go back to
True
Ronaldo
that.
because I won't go back to Ronaldo and all or else Zlatan and Rooney because Zlatan was like a king over there. Rooney was another king.
Mm,
So the king didn't
mm.
fight wars, but they never helped each other majorly. But
He's
I
yeah,
like see the players' performance improvement. Like the first hat trick after Sir Alex Ferguson's thing came from Marshall, and the final assist was brilliant
After
because
Arsenal,
yeah, like I was shocked to see. Like I thought Rashford would go for a shot. If he was an individual player, he wanted goals, he would have gone for a shot. He had a clear view for the shot, but he had passed the ball, which no one expected. And the finish from Martial, I can see like Ole has been training people with his proper finishing. Ole is a perfect finisher. Like Ole has a
and
class.
even Ole is like the perfect coach to have for a striker, I would say.
Exactly, man. Like dribble.
And
And coming back to another major improvement, like you said, Michael Carrick, the way he has worked with Scott McTominay, Fred,
Scott McTominay,
Fred,
Fred,
Fred
importantly.
was okay. I thought pre-season. Okay, I thought we have to sell Fred. Man, please sell Fred. Bring in someone else. But this season, most unexpected turn, like complete turnover for me is Fred first place. Second is Brandon Williams. I didn't expect Brandon Williams, 19-year-old guy, coming because I've seen James Garner playing in the previous season. He also played in UEFA, I guess. I mean, Champions League. I guess he was subbed as a player.
Beautiful.
I've seen Tai Chong coming in
Mm.
and playing, but I haven't seen Brandon Williams playing for Manchester United. And suddenly he was given a major big role of a replacement of a main defender.
Mm.
There was no Twenzebe. Twenzebe was coming later on. I mean, he played, I guess, one match, I guess. Timothy was another interesting player, but I won't
Yeah.
feel like he's that good as Brandon Williams, but he was a decent player compared to any other bench.
See, the thing is with Fosu Mensah, he's basically a defensive mid. He's not a wing back, so you cannot expect him to, be as
True.
good as a wing back who's trained for that to be in particular. But yeah, and one more major thing for me was Matic. I thought he was done. He was rested before January. I thought,
Very
who
good.
is he? Why is he even in the team? Like, sell him off, get him. He's already 30, 31 years old.
30
What? Sell him,
not wrong.
get the
Yeah.
4 5 million, whatever you get for him. Why do you have to keep him? But after January, the way he played,
The
he
past
stole the show for me. The most underrated performer this season for me was Matic.
Had different.
Had Matic not been there, Pogba couldn't have played the way he played. Bruno couldn't have played the way he played, and which eventually means the United team couldn't have played the way they wanted to play. But his intelligence, he knows when to come and intercept the balls. He knows when to go in for a duel. He knows when to fill in a centre back spot and make the defense wider and make it a
That
fine man
is the
defense.
one major thing which has improved our defense because when Maguire
Being
flies
more of
off
a defense.
into the front, man, Lindelof couldn't handle it as a separate centre back. That time, Matic stepped back. I can see the brilliance in that because I was
That comes with experience.
very
And
true,
I would consider Matic as a player who was reborn.
very
He
very true.
was out of the list before January. He wasn't even there. I wouldn't have even played him ahead of, say, James Garner or Levitt. I wouldn't have. But after January, what he did, it was astonishing. And next, the last and the most important player, Mason Greenwood.
That kid is absolute brilliant. Seriously. You even heard Alan Shearer saying, Alan Shearer is a person who has scored tremendous goals. He's the leading goal scorer for PL. And he has said, give the kid 5 to 10 years, maybe maximum 10 years. He's going to be the leading goal scorer. He has scored around 680 goals. 680 goals. A kid can score in next 10 years, not even 10 years. Give him 5 to 10, I mean, 5 to 8 years, he can score. He said those words. A legend saying those words. And not just him. I really appreciate Lukaku because if it was Zlatan, he would have trolled Manchester United, saying they were lost in the semi-finals. They could come, they couldn't qualify for the finals. But Lukaku, the words he said, I was shocked to see. I know. I mean, Ole had told that forward has to be improved from the younger style. So he also said Marshall has stepped in front and he has improved, and Rashford has improved. And the word he also included, Mason Greenwood, was brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah. See,
Yeah,
Mason Greenwood, when we needed him most, he came and he got those crucial goals, man. He could score with both the feet. He could dribble with both the feet. What else do you want from a player?
I
The
hope
defender
he
wouldn't
doesn't get
know what
injured.
he's going to do.
Yeah,
Just give him the ball in the outside or somewhere near the D box. He would take care of the rest. His
that
tempo
goal
was,
for goal.
and he's relatively quick too. He's not slow. He's very
Yeah,
fast. Just that he doesn't run those long shifts, but that doesn't mean he's slow. He's fast, and he has everything. He has everything apart from that physique to become a top striker. And physique also. If you see after the lockdown, after the restart, he has improved. He has put on weight. He has bulked up, and I can see in players getting there. Even McTominay has bulked up, and slowly the players are getting bulked up. See Luke Shaw, he has reduced weight
yeah,
drastically. So
very true.
that is what Ole has
Actually, I
brought
don't
in
think
to
like
people.
strikers need physics. They need a mentality in the play because they have to see the gaps. The way he has to see this, like how to dribble front. Because player with attack, okay, physics matters when it comes to headers. And Manchester United is not the team who's playing for headers. Header means it
Yeah,
was going to be either Pogba, Maguire,
or
McTominay. Those are
yeah.
the only three players they have to man mark. Other players are going to be like penalty. Let's go for penalty. Let's get the penalty done. Mason Greenwood, I would say like the time when James has his finishing problem, he stepped up. Like he was an academy player. He also played the academy games and he then got promoted
Mm.
into the squad when the squad needed the most. And he stepped front and I saw a junior Ronaldo playing. I would say Mason Greenwood was a junior Ronaldo, but Ronaldo had a preferred foot, but he doesn't have a preferred foot. That is one. I would say he was brilliant when he shocked Ramsdale for the Bournemouth game. He was shocked to see him. How did he even shoot? He was like, what? That was like, wow. Because I thought he's gonna put the cut and he's gonna score. But he shoot it all of a sudden and it went in and Ramsdale was shocked. He was like, what are you defense even doing? How did he even shoot? That is the quality which is very, very needed for a striker. Just give me a
Yeah,
second. Just give me.
yeah, even I feel that he will become one of the most important players for United in the future. Last but not the least,
Yeah,
the legend,
very true.
the man who has saved us all these seasons,
Very
finally started slowing his slump, David De Gea.
okay. De Gea. How I would still say De Gea is the world's one of the world's best goalkeeper. I would still say De Gea is one of the world's best goalkeeper. Okay, he had two like failure kind of seasons, but 2017 he won the Golden Glove, and he was unbeaten literally. And the way he stopped against Arsenal, Sanchez was like, in all that is De Gea,
Cancer.
man. That is De Gea, but no one else can do what De Gea has done for Manchester United. Let it be Dean Henderson. I'm too early to judge for Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson played for Sheffield United and he did brilliant. He did brilliant, seriously. Like he was top. I would say he was a capable player. If he had played for Manchester United with this kind of defense, I guess he would have got the Golden Glove, maybe. But the thing with David De Gea, the defense this season, the defense strategy was completely different because play from back, played from the D box. They started from the D box, they went front. But David De Gea was in the 2017 season. If you take defenders were kind of in front, like near to the half lane. He used to shoot long. There were players like Zlatan, Rooney to take the ball, Fellaini to take the ball. But now in the front, there weren't players to take the ball. Coming back to the last matches against Sevilla, he had shoot up front because we need players to run up front because their
Mm.
forwards were kind of pressing and our defenders wanted to take the ball front, but they weren't able to. Suddenly the plan changed. That's when Victor Lindelof made the mistake because I won't say like De Gea could have saved the match against Sevilla, but the sudden change in the strategy of defense when player has to come back, he couldn't handle on his own. And the other thing is that if a player makes a mistake in the D box, then it completely comes to De Gea. That's kind of a pressure. That's kind of a mentality. And I guess this season is going to be quite interesting because if I would say if the same different strategy was worked out for 2018 or 19, which has been done in 2017, he would have still been the world's best goalkeeper. I would say, if your people are saying Manuel Neuer is like the wall, he's also a wall. He was also called a wall. He had a failure in the World Cup.
Mm.
He had a failure in the
And
World Cup.
from then it was his downfall. See, one interesting thing Gary Neville said: if there is a slump in form, it can be for a month, it can be for 6 months, but when it continues and it is now for a year or two, it becomes a habit, and the player can never regain what he has lost. And that is what I feel about David Aya personally. See, he has been great, he has been phenomenal, he has been a true servant. But you know, you earn the most for a goalkeeper. You earn 360K a week, and then you can't even catch a tame shot. Then what is the need for you there in that particular team? Romero was brilliant. I would say this season Romero was better than David De Gea
It
because the season was so bad for him. For a player of David De Gea's caliber to have like 8 or 9 errors leading to goal, it's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. We lost the FA Cup because of him.
yeah.
Simple. We lost the trophy because of him. We lost like more than 10 points in the Prem because of David De Gea. And you cannot say no. And this
Ah,
is not acceptable when you are playing for a club like Manchester United at the top level. And you are not a normal keeper. You are a Spain international. You are the number one for Spain, and you have been there. You have done that, and suddenly you are not able to catch a ball. Then what is the need for you to stay anymore? What is the need for you to play anymore? And with players like Dean Henderson waiting in the ranks, and what has Dean Henderson did? He hasn't done any wrong, and he has proved himself to be better than David De Gea. So I personally feel that David De Gea's time is done with Dean Anderson in the ranking. If at all we fail to give Dean Anderson the time he needs, and if at all we don't have him as the number one, as our number one, then I don't find a point in Dean Anderson staying for the club, and we would eventually lose him. And he's just what 24, and that's too young for a goalkeeper. So personally, I would feel that it should be Dean Henderson for next season. Even though if he's not the number one choice, he should be given the cup games and the at least Champions League group stages, I would say.
for
So
me, I would personally say David is going to be the number one for me because
yeah, David
last
will be the
season,
number one.
no,
No
last
doubt about it.
season, I would say Romero was perfect. Like whatever games Romero had played, he was good. He was brilliant. Another player was brilliant in the department of goalkeeper. We have a very good goalkeeping backups. Like I want to say, no other squad has a better goalkeeper than us.
Yeah,
It's a very true
yeah,
thing. The thing what happened with De Gea, I mean De Gea is that Ole trusts De Gea a lot more than anyone else in the squad. That's the reason why he was starting more games compared to Romero, even in the important stages. He feels De Gea still got it, and I trust Ole on this. It's because this year it's going to be quite interesting. Dean,
it's a huge selection dilemma for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
yeah, this I would say Dean is a very good. I'm again coming back. Like Dean is a very good prospect. He can replace De Gea as a number one, but Dean has to learn a lot. Dean has to learn a
Yeah,
lot because
learning has to be done simultaneously,
yeah, because
and you will
initially
start
you
to learn
might
only when you are playing most of the games. If you're not playing, how would you learn? You just can't sit, train, and then expect to come and perform in
no,
the match. No,
I feel like the point I'm trying to say is that playing for Sheffield United and playing for Manchester United is different. Main it starts with the crowd and the fan base because if you go as a Manchester United player to Man City or Liverpool, he has to know how much he would be booed because Sheffield United player won't be booed much, but Manchester United players will be booed a lot by the fans.
see, that is where the mentality would be
The
tested, right?
mentality is the place where he has to learn. I mean, that's the place where he has to learn. And also, De Gea has
But
been a sweeper
see,
keeper.
we cannot say that his mentality has been poor. See,
No, I won't say his
again,
mentality is poor. He needs to learn a lot. And that's what I say. The
yeah,
competition
that
is
is
going to
given.
be
But
very true. Like this year, it's
you
going to be,
learn through experience.
yeah, you learn through experience. And what I feel is that David should start. And if David makes a mistake, or else what I feel is that either it's going to be an alternate matches for both of the players because that's how David needs to be the number one goalkeeper for the next year championship. I mean, not Europe competition. I mean, Europe Cup, if I'm not wrong. He needs to be the number one.
Champions League.
Yeah, no, not Champions League. I mean the Spain Europe League.
Acha, Euros.
Euros. So he has to be the number one goalkeeper for Spain because I don't think Kepa is going to start for sure. It's not going to be Kepa. I feel De
See,
Gea has still got it, and he needs a competition for it. He needs to prove himself that he's the best again. And and one more thing is that David has a very equal competition. Romero, they can say Romero is aged, so David can have a little longer stance, or David can stand, and all these things can come in. But over here, this year, it's going to be Dean is young. Dean is good.
Yeah.
Dean is in a few, like, what can I say? I would say he's starting his peak form. So it's going to be
Yeah.
David's going either it's going to be two-way. One is playing alternate matches, see who's going to fit, and there's going to be a healthy competition between the team, I mean, between the players. And for the manager, he's going to be like a gifted manager because he has the world's best goalkeepers in his bench, and in his
And a huge headache too.
uh, yeah, huge headache too because the fan base and everything is going to pay a lot because Dean has to make it to the England's front 11, and David has to make it to the top 11. It's going to be either alternate matches or else Dean could start the Premier League and David could do the Champions League, or it's going to be vice versa. But it depends. Maybe De Gea would be the next Romero for us. So we don't know. Or there's also another
Or
possibility.
costly Romero at that.
Yeah, there's another possibility. Since De Gea is going to be just 30 or 31, he still has 2 to 3 years. See Peperena, he's 39 or 40, he's still playing.
Yeah, goalkeeper.
Yeah,
He still has 5 years, in my opinion.
for me, he still has 5 years in the top
Not
division.
at United. No.
Top divisions. No, I won't say if
Not at United.
it's too early to comment on De Gea on United because he's been
Right.
very loyal. From the size he has been coming from Atletico Madrid, his physicality, his mentality, the way he led the team. De Gea was the
Yeah,
initial
that
captain.
and all is
So De
So
Gea is he's a very loyal servant for United. I would say like if we have to get, if Dean is doing decent in the Premier League, if Dean was given a chance and he's able to perform against the higher, being a Manchester United player, he's able to go defend us in the away matches. I guess Dean could be given number one when we could bring in Joel Pereira as a backup and sell David De Gea so that we can earn little money and invest on the places where we need to invest. We can't sell Dean Henderson because he's going to be the kid
yeah.
for the next 10 to 15 years. He's going to be the player for next 10 years, at least solidly 10 years. If he's going to be the next De Gea, he has 10 years left. If he's going to be the next De Gea, or possibly not the last 2 seasons, but the previous season's De Gea, he's still going to have it like the next 10 years. So I won't sell Dean Henderson or loan him out because he needs to get the pressure what United faces in this away game.
Yeah, and he won't go on loan. It was clearly told by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the last press conference.
Yeah,
He told that Dean is going to stay here and he's going to fight for his place.
yeah,
So that
definitely.
is how
I feel like it's the one place where we need not worry about because I would still say David is better than Dean, and maybe he needs a competition to fight for himself.
time
In
will
case of Kepa, in
other
case of
than
Kepa, he would
the
be
time
like
will have to-
Kepa can't replace me. In Spain, he can't replace me, and with his fault numbers, he's pretty equal to David De Gea. He's pretty equal to David De Gea, and I would say the strategy which was being changed might be a start for De Gea.
maybe.
Mistakes for De Gea.
Let us let the time answer the question. Most saddest part of this video, I would say, the transfer window.
Yeah.
What do you expect from this transfer window, and what do you think are the positions which United must strengthen?
Okay, coming back to the substitutes, so it's going to be 3 substitutes, not going to be 5. So that would, I feel like we need certain only limited amount of quality players. In case of injury, it's going to be different. But if people are not going to injure and need a regular swap, we need a little less compared to what we initially needed in the team. If it's going to be 5 substitutes. So okay, let me say from the players I want to kick out, I want to replace with. So first player I would sell is Pereira, Andres Pereira.
See, let's get to the selling part later. Let's
Okay.
start with the players we need to get in,
Get in.
or we need to strengthen the squad.
Okay. First player, obviously Jadon Sancho. I need a right winger for sure. I need a right winger who is so capable. Greenwood is young, and Greenwood's natural position is a striker, not a winger. And I need a proper right winger. I'm not saying I need David Brooks. I need a Jadon Sancho. So there's a huge difference between Jadon Brooks and David Brooks.
Even
And
for me, Jadon Sancho is like a no-brainer. He's like the best player you can get for the style of play which United plays. He
Yeah,
can counter attack. He's good with the ball. He has that vision. He's fast. He can score those goals. He can create those goals. And the creativity won't solely lie on Pogba or Bruno.
yeah.
He will be there to take a share in the load. So Jadon Sancho is no brainer unless and until Edward Word loses his brain. Other than that, I don't see any reason why United
Won't
don't
go
go
for.
and get Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, Jadon Sancho is my first priority. Okay, and most important place I want to make is a center midfielder. A proper
Mm.
center midfielder like Xavi or Iniesta, that kind of quality I need. I need a player who could boost up the pace in the front, who could dribble,
Right,
and he could also do some decent interceptions and all those
right,
kind of player. I need a finishing player from the mid.
right.
So that's the kind of the rumor which has been going on. I need that player, Van de Beek. I need. I really, really need him because
Right.
he can play as an attacking midfielder. He's a proper center midfielder, and his interception rates and his stats has been brilliant recently. So I would go for Van de Beek, and also another transfer, interesting transfer rumors which has been going on is Thiago. That is happening from yesterday because Liverpool feels that Thiago is pretty old. Jurgen Klopp feels that that's what the rumor has said, that Jurgen Klopp feels that Thiago is a pretty old player.
And
And
it's an asking price is too much. They have an issue with the price of
yeah,
Thiago.
so and all that Bayern Munich is expecting is 27 million and 27 million. Okay, I want
30 million.
27 million is a huge cost for Manchester United, but it's a very huge cost for Ed Woodwork and Glaziers. So I won't say like it's a cheap cost, but I would say it's gonna be improving our. I mean, I would say the starting level is gonna be improved. Thiago is gonna play, or else even the subline is gonna be a huge difference because this season we are going to play more than 60 games. I mean, yeah, more than 60 games. Expected to be, it's going to be 60 because FA Cup and everything, Carabao Cup.
Yeah,
And we are going to
right.
have a standard higher. We are going to play in the Champions
Yeah,
League, not in the Europa League. So Europa League is pretty tough like Champions League, but Champions League player has a little higher because their transfer market is also pretty high, good compared to other teams which are there, and transfer market for United is same. So I would say I need an improvement over there, and I also need a proper left center back. Like everyone say, I need a left-footed center back because we have an alternates to go for if we need a right back or a left back. Brandon can fit in
Mm.
both places. We can also play. We can see. I mean, Fosu Mensah can play both fields. He can play as a right mid. I mean, right back. He can also play as a left back. So we have a top two best, Aaron Van Bissaka and Luke Shaw. I hope they are not getting injured because they are the most important players for us. And in the center, seeing Bailey being injured in the game, off the game, in the training, I won't feel like Bailey is going to survive for pretty long. And Lindelof is a very intelligent, a very good player, but I feel like he needs to be subbed or else he needs to be like swapped in the games. Maguire is going to be staying for long. I know that. Maguire's quality, Maguire's leading, and the kind of play which Maguire plays is kind of very important for Manchester United. His physique, the way he gets the headers and all those things. I feel like that's important. Maguire is gonna stay. I need a player who could support Maguire, and the dream partner for is Koulibaly, and Manchester United spending money once again. It's a tragic. Okay, I saw another few other. I mean, I thought we'll go for Gabriel, and Gabriel is again swapped away, gone. And Badashil has been going on, and 25 million is
That is
not enough.
still going on.
Yeah, 25 million is not enough for them, I mean, Monaco to accept the offer. They are feeling like 25 million. That's like 100 million player. Everyone, since Ake got sold for 40 million, every single player thinks like he deserves 100 million. Jack Grealish is not worth for 75 million because he's coming from team of Aston Villa. The kind of quality that player has is different. He's worth for 75 million. I wouldn't say no, but the kind of team he's coming from, okay, the kind of transfer market, COVID, everything happening, I won't say like Jack Grealish is worth for 75 million. He is worth for 50 to 60 million at max. I would go for 45 to
See,
50.
there are like two ways to look into this transfer market. Either Jack Grealish or Thiago and Van de Beek. I would probably go in with Thiago and Van de Beek because
Every,
that strengthens our
yes,
squad much more than what Grealish does. See, Grealish is a proven Premier League player. He's a British. He has a British passport and stuff. That and all is secondary. But if you see the experience that Thiago has,
And the
like he's
qualities.
probably the best midfielder for me after Kevin De Bruyne in the world. He is the best midfielder. You cannot say no. He has evolved himself according to the game. He used to be an attacking midfielder. He used to be that Xavi mold of central midfielder. But now he's a proper defensive midfielder who takes the role of the playing playmaker. And that is something that United needs. For me, I would go in for Thiago over Van der Beek. Say I need Van der Beek too, but then if you are giving me an option of Thiago and Van der Beek, I would go in for Thiago. See, Thiago is a player who can play as the defensive midfielder. He can stay back. He can become the auxiliary centre back when needed, like what he has been doing for Ben. Or he can take the ball. He can intercept those passes. He can start the attack from the back. He can he can just bring a counter attack with one pass, and that brilliance I don't find it in any other player, not even in Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is very good at picking passes and all, but Kevin De Bruyne cannot do what Thiago does, and Thiago cannot do what Kevin De Bruyne does, obviously. But Thiago is the complete midfielder United needs, and to have a midfield of Thiago, Pogba, and Bruno, I wouldn't want anything else. That is like we'll probably have the best midfield trio in the world, even better than what City has. And yeah, so I would probably go in for say Thiago and Van de
Van
Beek
der
as
Beek.
the cover to
If
say a Bruno
if
or a
we,
Pogba. If
I mean, if we have a
even
choice,
one of them get injured, we don't have a proper attack. The next best player we have is Andres Pereira as the attacking midfielder, which I don't want to see. He's just not a United player. Same goes with Mata. He's old. I'm very loyal to Mata. I am very grateful for whatever he has done, but he's old. He cannot, he doesn't have that pace and he doesn't have it anymore to play in the Premier League. He might still be good at, say, a slower paced leagues, but at Premier League, I don't feel he's good enough. So I would probably want both Thiago and Van der Beek to get over the line, and along with Jadon Sancho. If you don't get Jadon Sancho this season, for me, this transfer window is a flop.
very true.
He is the most important player United needs. Even if Thiago is not there, even if Van der Beek is not there, we can somehow manage with decent replacements. Fred has been good. We have Matic to play. He has another season in a mud case. We have Pogba. We have Bruno. Somehow we manage. But the right winging option, I don't see anyone playing that, and I don't want anyone other than Jadon Sancho either, because he is the perfect player you have, and he is the perfect player you want. And I probably would take Mbappe if you don't give me Jadon Sancho. But apart from these two, I won't have anyone else
I
in the
actually
team.
have a
I'm
choice
very sorry
for
to say
Jadon
that.
Sancho. I have a choice of Jadon Sancho. Let me come to that. So, if it's going to be an option of going for either Jack Grealish or Thiago plus Van de Beek, I'll go for Thiago. Everyone will go for Thiago and Van de Beek. Honestly,
Thiago and Van de Beek. Yeah.
because the guys, the quality is very good. Okay, and we have two alternate options over one. That is going to like matter a lot when you go further and further in the Champions
Further in
League
the
or any
competition.
other.
Look at what City has. They have like what 22 world class players, man.
Yeah. So I would go for that kind of player. If we have to choose between Thiago or Van de Beek, that's where I will go controversial to you. I would choose Van de Beek over Thiago because Thiago is more of a center defensive midfielder, and I feel that Scott McTominay has been underrated on this position because he was being injured initially, but the
Mm.
way he has the potential is again he comes from a true blood of Manchester United and he's a very good defensive midfielder. He has the physique. He could do good compared to Fred. I mean, Fred is also there, so I don't
See,
feel like
he is very good. I don't deny all that. But can he be the only starter that United have is the question. He is definitely not at that level of say a Thiago. And if you want
yeah.
trophies in a very short span of time, then Thiago is the answer for you and not McTominay. McTominay can play the cup games, can play the odd games here and there, can replace Thiago as the substitute.
I won't say
I
like
don't
you
see
don't
no.
want to replace Thiago as substitute, but Van de Beek, if you see, I'm seeing not just for a very short run. Van de Beek is a quality midfielder. He's a quality midfielder. Maybe
Yeah,
the strategy is going to matter a lot because how we are going to use Van de Beek is going to is gonna help us to get the trophies. And Van de Beek is younger compared to Thiago, and maybe Thiago is in his peak right now. He could stay for next 2 years, and yeah, we can get those trophies for the next 2 years. And after next 2 years, would we get Van de Beek for 25 to 30 million? No, he would be in his peak. Then they would crash in. If Ake is said to be in his peak and it's been cost 40 million this time, I would say like Van de Beek will go for 100 million the next 2 years. Nobody can guess, man. So I would feel like he's young, he's talented.
See, ideally, that's what I'm telling. Get Thiago and get Van de Beek. We need both of them. It's you don't have a choice. Go get them. You have them available in the market. They are the players who are willing to come.
And the
Just
wages
pay
are a
the
little
price.
less compared to what we're going to pay for Grealish. The wages are going to
Yeah.
be less. So I would say, like, okay, these two players are going to help our bench a lot. And that's what every Manchester United fan feels. But if you're able to get, okay, let me say, it's going to be the dream, okay? Okay, coming to the Jadon Sancho's alternate, okay? Okay, Mbappe, obviously, he's the best next to, he's the best equal or even higher than Jadon Sancho, okay? But I would say for the next 5 years, if I see for the next 5 years, a potential alternate for Jadon Sancho and the quality of what Jadon Sancho possesses, I would go for Felipe Coutinho. It's an impossible one, but Felipe Coutinho, he's a perfect playmaker. He's actually a winger. He plays as a center attacking midfielder for Bayern Munich, but he came in place of Kingsley Coman. No, not Kingsley Coman. He came in place of Nabry, I guess, and he gave 2 assists. One assist, 2 goals
See,
within a short span.
Firmino is a playmaker you have, and playmaker Firmino is not a natural right-footed winger or right-sided winger. He's a left. He can play in the left wing and come in and dictate the play. But that for that reason we are getting cheaper alternatives in Van de Beek and and even I would even say better alternatives in Van de Beek and Thiago better than Coutinho. Coutinho cannot play in the right wing,
I
so
won't say like
Jadon Sancho is a no-brainer, man. You cannot just replace him. You
I
tell
am
whatever
very
you want.
sure.
You tell
No,
even
no, no.
Mbappe.
Sir, seriously, Jadon Sancho is gonna be the man. He is the man. But if you can't go for Jadon Sancho, and we need a player for
If you
because
can't go for Jadon Sancho, don't run the club. Shut down the club. No need football, nothing. I want Jadon Sancho. That's
I
all.
hope Glacier is gonna listen to whatever we are speaking here. So, okay, if you're gonna miss Jadon Sancho this season, I'm pretty sure Barca is gonna get him either this season or the next
Barca,
season.
Liverpool. Sadio Mane is gonna leave. He didn't
Yeah, if
sign
Sadio
contract.
Mane is gonna leave for 120 million, they're gonna directly invest for Jadon Sancho. Easy.
So, yeah, even Klopp is very interested in Jadon Sancho.
Yeah,
He even
but
tried to
the wages is
snatch
high.
him before Dortmund.
Yeah, wages is high and his asking price is high, and Liverpool can't spend that much because the
Right
reconstruct.
now they can't, but next season they can. Sadio Mane is leaving.
Yeah, so 120 million, Jadon Sancho is
So
gonna either be
see,
free or else he's gonna be less than 100 million. And that time,
yeah, he's
United,
going to
if
be 60 million next season. But
yeah,
if you lose out this season, but that is all. I don't think you can land in Jadon Sancho
because Jadon
anytime.
Sancho wants Liverpool more than Manchester United, but Manchester United
He
is
wants an English team. That is a different thing. But get in. You need him most. Your sponsorship deal is ending. Chevrolet is leaving next year. You need to find a new one. You need to convince sponsors. At least for the selfish motive of money, get Jadon Sancho, bring in trophies. If that is all you have, that is all you have to care about. If all you want is money, then the money is there with Jadon Sancho. Bring him, win trophies, get your sponsorship, fill your pockets, get lost.
that's it. Very true. Ah,
As simple as that. So
and
yeah, what are your expectations for next season?
next season, okay, okay. Let me complete the transfer market expectations and the next seasons. So
Yeah.
first, I need Jadon Sancho. I need maybe my dream would be Jadon Sancho, Thiago, Van de Beek, Grealish, and a left-footed centre back. These five players,
Then why not
United.
add Messi and Ronaldo to that?
No, no, no. Messi is like okay. Maybe Messi might replace Jadon Sancho, but I won't go for that. But these five players, if we get these five players, maybe I would go for left centre back. If I get Koulibaly, it's going to be the dream. Okay, I'm in the dream. Okay, if I get Koulibaly, so Koulibaly is not a left-footed centre back, but he's a perfect
Left-sided center.
yeah, he's a perfect match for Harry Maguire. That's what even Ole said. He wanted to get Koulibaly and Harry Maguire, but Glaciers, come on, so he won't get that much. So
See, I don't see Koulibaly leaving Napoli this season though.
yeah, and Napoli has been very open. Man, you ask
Or if
Manchester
at all,
United,
or if at all he's leaving, he's gonna go for
City.
Man City, and
Yeah.
Pep is gonna strengthen the team.
So if my ideal would be Koulibaly because he has a potential for playing for the next 5 years easily. I can see. I mean, I saw Koulibaly being nutmegged by Messi in the Champions League, but he's not. That happened once. I won't say like it would happen again, but it has probabilities to happen again. But our defense is going to be very decent this time if you have Koulibaly in the back. But if there's no Koulibaly, there's going to be another alternate, which I would go for Badashil because he's
That
young.
is
He has a
yeah.
good physique. He has good physique and his potential. I
See,
won't feel like.
when see, Badashil, getting Badashil is like a no-brainer, and the reason being Perez and Zidane both are behind him, and they call him the next Varane. If they both identify the potential in that particular player, then it's a no-brainer. You go there, get him. That is it.
But I won't say that
But again, Monaco is not
because
willing to say
no, no. I
that.
fear in one side is that the one point is that they said Schweinsteiger still has his peak. He's gonna be the best, and we got
Yeah,
Schweinsteiger.
that is
We got
Ben being
Falco.
Ben.
We got
You,
Falco. We got
that
Falco.
is that is Ben being Ben actually.
We got
Schweinsteiger.
Falco.
Ben
We
has
got.
never sold a player who wasn't finished.
Oh, I'm worrying about Thiago then. But Thiago,
No,
we saw
Thiago.
Thiago. We saw
Ben
Thiago.
doesn't want to sell. Ben doesn't want to sell Thiago. They
But he
want to
wants to
keep him.
move out.
No, but what Thiago wants a longer contract and a huge wage structure. He need increment in wages, which Ben is not willing to offer, and that is the only reason Thiago is moving out. And so it is safe to say that Thiago is not yet finished,
Okay.
and he still has at least 2-3 years in him.
I guess he still has
You
two,
saw
three
the
years.
Champions League. You know
Yeah,
what
seriously.
to
He's
expect from him.
like he
Simple
was
as
the man of the match for me, honestly. Because
he is.
if he hadn't taken the ball from the mid and I mean from the defense side, the
He
game would
bossed
be
the mid.
yeah.
He took care of the midfield. He owned the midfield. Simple as
So
that.
it's simple.
Yeah.
So I would go for Badashil because okay, he's young, he's talented, but he can't. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's gonna be like the number one spot for the left center back. It's still gonna be Lindelof or Bailey. He's gonna be there, but we have a strong bench. We have a strong prospect.
Yeah.
So that is gonna matter
Yes.
because what Ole is building is from a very young player. He's bringing in young players. So I feel that young potential players. That's what is important. We have a lot of young players, and we need young potential players for the starting 11. And I feel Badashil would be a perfect choice. Gabriel was a
Perfect.
perfect choice, but we missed out Gabriel, so I can't blame on that because it's typical Manchester United transfer. So I'm not going to say anything on it. But Badashil,
So yeah. So what is your take for the next season? Where do you think we'll end up?
okay. If transfer market doesn't happen, and if our players are same injury prone, like whatever happened this season, I don't think we'll be. I guess I'll be in the sixth place, fighting for the Europa League and being chucked out of the Champions League from the group stage itself. Play in the Europa League, maybe try for qualifying to the finals and lose in the finals.
See,
That
for
would happen.
me personally, see, it depends a lot on this transfer window
Yeah,
where United stands. If United is going to continue with the same squad, I don't see them finishing in top four. See what Chelsea is doing. They have just got 6 players till now, and they are just behind 2 more players, just 8 players, and that's a squad. That is a squad they are getting. And but what will happen at the end? Frank Lampard will be praised. Why? Because he spent 450 million on a squad. He built a squad. He got 11 players. He finished third. Even after buying so much, he is not able to, catch up with say Liverpool. That is shitty. He couldn't. He didn't have
I'm
done
not.
that at
It's
all.
too early to judge because Chelsea has a lot of potential, and maybe if he gets these two players which he wants, maybe that's his formula. He brought up a formula. He plays fourth. He came fourth from a team which we
Yeah,
believe that they would maybe fight for champions. I mean Europa
true that.
League, but he came up. So if his formula needs those kind of players, maybe he can challenge for the Champions League. I mean for the championship. I mean for the Premier
Yeah,
League. But
yeah.
I'm not sure it's if United gets the player, I'm pretty sure that we could challenge because we have players who are like I won't say they are world class, but they are going to be the future, and they're
Yeah.
potential world class players. And Jadon Sancho is
See,
a world class player.
that is what I'm telling. If our transfer window goes as planned, and if they manage to at least bring 3 players,
Mhm.
Jadon Sancho, Van der Beek, and Thiago, I am pretty sure that United can fight for the title and will have a decent run in the Champions League.
Very true. Very true.
So that's what we have got in this episode for Blazing Football. Uh, if you feel anything that we have missed out, you can comment. And if you contradict anything we both said, you are free to comment whatever you want. Please do support us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.